Well, welcome to the Beyond Cinema Studio, Rebecca Miller. Firstly, congratulations on having the premiere last night. How do you feel? What's the kind of feeling of a writer-director after kind of the big release?
Well, you know, since this is a film has a lot of comedic elements to it, hearing laughter was very reassuring, and in such a big room, there were 2,000 people there, so the feeling of how laughter begins and ripples up and then kind of really gets big, and hearing laughs that I didn't know were there was really exciting. And it's a different thing when you have a movie that's predominantly has a lot of sadness in it. You know, it's harder to gauge what an audience is feeling. So it's kind of exciting to be in something where it's funny.
Was that an intentional experience you were looking to have?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I think I do feel right now that not every kind of comedy, but thoughtful comedy and witty comedy, I mean, there's a real place for it and a kind of need for it. And right now, Preston Sturges is sort of a big hero of mine at the moment, and I just feel like humorlessness is the enemy at the moment globally, so I think it's nice to have a bit of wit and humor and self-parody.
Yeah. New York has been the center or the hub of so much of the kind of creative comedy for the US. Setting this film in that kind of frenetic landscape, but yet having a great amount of time in which to plan the film, it feels.
Yes.
Then, are they contrary things? Like having a lot of time to put a film together? Is that a rare?
Well, I always work like that. I always have a lot of time. In a way, especially if you're going to shoot in New York, you need a lot of time to prepare because it's everything's going against you. Just logistically, it's hard to get from point A to point B and get your locations and everything. So the more planning you have, the better off you are. And I started a long time before, like over a year before, working with Greta and spending a lot of time with Greta and really evolving that character. I mean, the script was set, but certain things, like the fact that she's a Quaker, that she became a Quaker in her little apartment on Horatio Street. So in Greta's little apartment, Horatio Street. So these kind of we had really deep discussions about this character, and same for Julianne. And then later on when Ethan came on, so that in a way all that character stuff. But then I also worked with Sam Levy, the cinematographer, and then brought in the designer and talked a lot about color because I was a painter, so color means a lot to me, and like how one color, you put a blue sweater on in front of a red wall, and that does something different than if it's a pink sweater in front of a red wall. And so I care a lot about all that stuff. So I'm really love all the detail a lot. But in terms of New York, I'm a third generation New Yorker, so New York means a lot to me.
And Sam had also worked with Greta before as well, right?
Yeah.
So having worked with Noah and that team, but it seems like in getting to know Greta over the course of that year, did you find that other than items and colors and physical objects, were you rewriting and reimagining Maggie through Greta's eyes as well?
Definitely. I mean, in a way, I felt like Maggie I only fully understood the character when I met Greta, and I started to think, finally, here's somebody who can combine all these elements, because her schemingness, going with her innocence, going with her intelligence, going with a very special kind of stupidity. It's a kind of like a strange cocktail that really only Greta can pull off. She also has this wonderful cadence, a way of delivering lines where she just puts you off balance very slightly, where you're not really sure what the next word is going to be. But what's great about Greta is that she really uses the language. She rides language, whereas a lot of actors just take emotion and use language as a kind of, it's incidental. You could be saying this, you could be saying that. But she understands the music of language, which for comedy is really important. And it's really important to me because, of course, I'm a writer and I care a lot about words.
Yeah. And so talking about that, I mean, oftentimes you're writing your own material, the whole world created from your imagination. In this case, you responded to some material that you were reading that's, I think, still an unpublished novel, right?
Yeah.
So was it a different experience again, like where you had the formation of something that someone else had given you versus having kind of constructed that from the foundation?
Well, it was a bit of a free ride in a way. But what was nice about it was it was so incomplete. So the basic twist was there, but the cast of characters wasn't there really. Maggie was there, but she had a different occupation and really kind of a different character. And John was there, and certain elements were there. Georgette was there, but none of them were exactly the same people, nor was the plot the same. So I was given a sort of twist or hook, and then I was able to have the freedom to really create the world. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. It wasn't overdetermined.
Yeah. And it seems like each of the characters that you brought in, or each of the actors that you brought in, seem to almost have something in their personal lives that suggests that they were perfect for the part, in addition to their skill as a craftsman. So Ethan having come in as a writer off the back of Boyhood, and considering those options and considering the concept of family, and Julianne coming off her win for Still Alice, coming straight into the production. And it's kind of like there was a confluence of activity that seems like it kind of lined up right.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's extraordinary about these people, and that I would include Maya Rudolph and Bill Hader, I would include in this, that they're all really filmmakers in the sense that they're all sort of writerly. They all are able to think from that point of view, which could be a nightmare if it wasn't for the fact that it's all in a very helpful way and with great humility that everybody works together. So it's not trying to get your way, it's really making a contribution. So everybody really, and my aim is to make actors feel as free as possible to do their best work, to take the greatest risks. Because if an actor feels free, then they can take risks. If they don't feel free, if they feel, then they'll do, safe work. And I really wanted to create an atmosphere of freedom and where everybody could do their best work, and where Greta could be go really deep. And so it was wonderful to work with them for all those reasons.
That actually was surprising to me to read from Ethan, that he'd never been directed by a woman director before.
Yeah. I
Like,
know,
that was
40-something films.
Yeah, it was almost like,
but it does
pretty
put
shocking.
things into perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, when you look at the titles of your films, other than Personal Velocity, they've all got a woman's name in them.
Yes,
Is that
true.
intentional? Yeah. Is that like something?
Well, I mean, it wasn't really, like I said out in the beginning, I'm always going to do that, but I am really interested in the female experience, and so I suppose that it's natural that should happen.
And then, final question. I know Gary Winnick gets a shout out at the end.
Yes.
Obviously, he was responsible partly for Personal Velocity.
Yes.
What else made you want to honour him with that tribute?
Well, Gary Winnick was a wonderful filmmaker that died too soon, but he was also one of the most generous person I've ever met in this business. He genuinely cared about my work and bringing me back to filmmaking, because I had left filmmaking. I couldn't get money for anything, and I started writing fiction. And he called me and said, do you have anything? And he had started Indigent. And I was really almost reluctant to go back in there, and because I just didn't want to spend my life waiting for money. And it was really Gary, that got the film, gave me the green light, gave me total freedom, creative freedom. And then we won Sundance, and I had a career again. And so I really felt also that the tone of this film, the way that the particular style of this film was something Gary would have really liked. So it's the right film to dedicate to him.
Very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure seeing you, and thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you so much.